Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Don Parkinson, and I'm a consultation specialist with Atkins Realis. Today, we are continuing with our series of radio show topics as our project moves closer to consultation round 3 of the environmental assessment phase. The topics we are covering parallel our project activities or are of community importance, so we hope these will help our viewers and listeners better understand the project and provide input along the way. Just to remind everyone, we are broadcasting on the Webequie Radio Network to help reach community members about our project. Listeners can call or text us with questions and comments about the project at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. We try to keep the show fun and informal while being informative at the same time. We also take music requests as long as you can provide us with a comment or question about the project. So with me today, as with other shows, is Jennifer Ashwazagai Pereira, my colleague and in Indigenous Engagement and Traditional Knowledge Specialist at Atkins Realis. Jennifer is a member of Henvey Inlet First Nation, located on the French River south of Sudbury, and works with me on our projects across Canada. Hi, Jen. How are you today?
Anine, I am good. Nishin, happy to be here. And you hear my puppy in the background there. How are you, Don?
I'm doing okay. You're doing okay. Well, at least you know you're protected with the big dog around, right?
That's right. There she goes. Oh,
So let's get started. And today we're going to talk about a topic that's important to community members, and that's the proposed water crossing structures along the Webequie Supply Road. We think it's important to discuss these topics and share that discussion with our viewers and listeners. We're trying to be open about this project, what it involves, and how we are conducting the project. And so this is another example of that. And let's get started, Jen. What we should do, just to remind everyone again, the number to call or text us is 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. And as we always do, we're going to do a quick run through on the project just to get everyone up to speed. So in terms of today's topics, we'll do that sort of refresher on the project. Then we're going to talk about where the WSR watercourse crossings are. We're going to talk about bridges. We're going to talk about culverts. And then we're going to talk about how you can get in touch with us to wrap things up. So let's dive right in and talk about where the project is. Just remind everyone, the Webequie Supply Road project begins in Webequie First Nation at the airport. Webequie First Nation, just so you know, is about 200 to 250 kilometers from both James Bay and Hudson Bay. So the road would extend from the airport in Webequie southeast to the McFalds Lake area or Ring of Fire area. So we're talking about northern Ontario, um, pretty extreme northern Ontario actually, and Ontario's a big place. And so in terms of the purpose of the road, there's three main purposes for the supply road. The first is to move materials, supplies, and people from the airport to the Ring of Fire area. Second is to provide employment and economic development opportunities to Webequie community members while allowing them to preserve their traditions, their language, their culture, and be able to continue to live at home and participate in the mainstream economy. And then the final purpose is to provide experience and training opportunities for youth to encourage them to pursue additional skills through higher education or additional training programs. Now let's describe a little bit about the project. The The planned road is 107 kilometers long, extending from the airport in Webequie down to the Ring of Fire area, east of Mukattai River. 17 of those 107 kilometers sit on reserve lands. The planning corridor, so the sort of area within which we're working and trying to figure out where the road should go, is 2 kilometers wide. So this is a band 2 kilometers wide, if you can picture it, running from Webequie Airport to the Ring of Fire area. The road will sit somewhere in that 2 kilometer wide corridor. So this is called the preferred corridor, which was selected based on a lot of factors, um, uh, from other alternatives, other corridor alternatives. And finally, the cleared area for the road would be 35 meters in width. In terms of the other things about the project, there would be three major crossings, major water body crossings. The first one's of Winisk Lake coming out of the community going east. The second one is the Winiscasis Channel, south of there, southeast of Webequie. And then the final one would be of the bridge across the Mukattai River, which is right near the actual end of the Webequie Supply Road. So those would be the major water body crossings, or most of them. And then in terms of other facilities associated with the project, because it's more than just a two-lane road, there would be temporary and permanent aggregate or pit rock quarry areas, where you would get the material and prepare the material to be used to build the road and to maintain the road with. And those areas, those pits and quarries, would need roads to get access to them. So, and in doing so, there might be water crossings along those access roads as well. And then, of course, you have construction camps, which would be temporary, for housing the workers. And then associated with those, there would be other infrastructure like wastewater plants and drinking water storage areas. And then you would also have storage and laydown yards. Um, these are temporary, and they're typically associated with the construction camps, and therefore storing equipment and laying down supplies to build the road with. So
Lot of
that's basically
considerations.
a lot of considerations, Jen. It's as always, it's more than just a two-lane road. There's a lot more to it than that. There would be
That's
some
right.
permanent facilities at the end, right? There would be permanent facilities for operations and maintenance, probably a couple of these along the route as well, because you got to maintain the road once you build it, and so you need equipment for that. You need offices for the people to work out of as well, and places to store that equipment and the materials
Oh,
as well too. So.
when all is said and done, so everything is good to go and the road is built, are there going to be some rest areas?
Yeah, I think so. I think those are being built into the design. I
Hmm.
haven't seen like recent designs, but I think they would be built in to that because of the length of it, right? So you'd need like a rest area, but they can also serve as turnaround areas as well too, right?
Yeah,
So that vehicles can turn around if they have to turn around, they can. So
and
yeah, those will
snowplows.
be incorporated into the design. Yep. Yeah, no, that's a good question. And so I think enough of me
Are
talking.
we
Why
gonna
don't we listen to
are we
our
gonna
our
do a
first?
song?
Yes, we are, Jen. You or me first?
Nice. You go ahead.
Okay, let me dig into my. I'm gonna find some obscure stuff here. I know our technical director is part Irish, so I'm gonna tap into that a little bit and select a song by an Irish artist, and that would be Sinead O'Connor, and the song is called "You Made Me the Thief of Your Heart." If we have that one ready. Mr. McGuire,
You made me the thief of your
fellow
heart.
Irishman.
I thought you were going to go with the Pogues.
Oh, that'll come later on.
Yeah, no, because he's Irish too.
I'm starting slowly.
I started queuing
Build up.
the Pogues.
Oh yeah, don't jump the gun, Tony.
Okay.
The whole point is to be unpredictable.
We are cute. Well, that was unpredictable. I didn't expect that.
Thank you. Do we have that up? We do. Here it comes.
You made me cold, and you made me hard, and you made me nothing.
Okay, we are back. That was called "You Made Me the Thief of Your Heart" by Sinead O'Connor.
Sinead O'Connor. I have never heard that song. I
It's a
really love
great.
Sinead's voice.
It's a great. She's got an amazing voice. I love that. I think it's a great song. I heard it the first time a few months ago, and I just thought, "Wow, why have I not heard this before?" But it wasn't on an album. It was part of a soundtrack. So sometimes
Oh.
you don't
Sinead's
encounter
a
those.
incredible artist. Great choice.
Thank you. Did you like that song?
Controversial, and she's controversial for the right reasons, and she's just avoiding all that with a talent.
Oh, totally
Hers.
amazing talent. Yes, totally amazing talent. So, why don't we move along here and talk a bit about the WSR water crossings? Because there will be 26 of them. 25 25 stream or river crossings and one lake crossing. That being the one from Winnisk Lake east that I talked about earlier. And so that's a lot of crossings, and each one has to be evaluated by the project team, and the engineering team has to look at a bunch of factors when they're the first thing is what type of structure should go there or could go there, whether it's a bridge or a culvert. But there's a lot of factors that are involved in that decision making. Um, in terms of the design of the bridge or of the culvert. And so let's look at some of those factors. One of them is the constructability and remoteness of the location. So it's one thing to come to design something, but it's another thing to actually make it buildable, right? Because there's lots of
Right.
examples of brilliant architects out there that have designed buildings that are really hard to build because the architects didn't really necessarily take that into consideration that much. It was more art rather than practicality. And so, having worked at an architectural firm before, that was always a cause for much frustration for the people on the ground on the construction side trying to put these buildings together. So and a cause for a lot of conflict. So constructability is a big issue. So trying to simplify designs, simplify materials, make sure materials can be transportable to a remote location like this. Remember, during construction, the materials would have to come in by all season road, right? And
Right.
those roads, as we know, are not perfect. And
And don't forget anything.
and don't forget anything because it's a long way to go back and get what you needed. And I know Tony, you as our technical director have driven those roads before, and
Yeah.
so you know how hard it is, how challenging it is to bring in loads of construction material to build houses or bridges or
For
whatever,
sure.
right, Tony?
When we were shooting our documentary, which has just won another award, by the way.
Nice.
Oh,
Just throwing that out there. No,
oh, well, now
Congrats.
what was the award, Tony? Tell us the award.
I'll tell you after. But
No,
when we
tell our
were
audience. I think they'd really be interested in hearing.
we're just waiting on the confirmation. I got the email that so I don't know the exact details. So it's
Oh, he's holding back.
organization in Montreal. But when we were driving them, we were coming up behind 650-ton units that were going up for the school, for a new hotel, and it was late in the season, and it tore the road up, and it was undrivable, and yet Kokoms were still taking that road back down to get groceries and do basic stuff, and it was like incredible because we had I think a 2022 Ram, and I didn't feel comfortable driving the road, and they were just driving down in the van, just spin out until you move, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. It was incredibly hard and difficult, and it's just assumed that that's normal, so they do it, but it is far from normal.
Yeah, super dangerous. And that because those roads are not perfect, and they're not designed geometrically, right, to accommodate a lot. The length of the loads has to be considered, and so your how long your materials are. Like when you're talking about bridges, I'm sure the length of the girders, right, which are the supports for the deck. When they bring those up, they probably have to bring them up in smaller pieces than they would normally do, and then they would assemble them on site. Uh, so there's lots of factors involved in that, dealing with the remoteness of the location, the maintenance and life cycle of the type of structure, right? Like
Hmm.
when you're in remote locations like this, you want to try and design it so it'll last a long time, and it won't require a ton of additional maintenance because it's so expensive to move materials up there and finding workers to do that as well too. It's not always easy because you're far away from major centers. Um, Another factor is hydrology or surface water flow. Um, there's a lot of thought that goes in and work done by hydrologists and hydraulic engineers to identify the size of the structure required. So, for example, especially with culvert pipes, how big the opening should be, and it's based on the area drained by that drains to that point, and then looking at that at water levels under different situations or scenarios, right? Like a spring thaw, things like that, and looking at the most extreme kind of situations in terms of weather and weather events,
Like
so that
spring.
you like spring to make sure, right, that those water crossings, like those culvert pipes, are able to handle all the water that's going to go through them. So they are over designed typically, right, by a certain factor to make sure that they last a long time into the future and that they won't cause the road to wash out just by
That's right,
by
which is a good thing
accumulation of
because you
flow
don't
behind
want
it.
to you don't want
No,
a
you
road
want that
washout
road to
later
be
on when you're used to the convenience of a road, right? Then all of a sudden it's
ex-
washed out, and then how are you getting to
and
and
it's your
from
only
again?
link. Yeah, if you don't
That's
have
right.
other options, right? So that's a big deal. There's a lot of time that is spent on that in preliminary design to get those bridges and culverts sized properly. Another factor is more on the environmental side, looking at the crossing locations and potential impacts of a crossing being you know at a place where there is maybe some fish or fish habitat sensitivity. A lot of this stuff is done beforehand, where you're trying to identify locations, crossing locations that will have the least impact on fish or fish habitat as much as possible. So there's a lot of things that are reviewed, whether it's the soil types there, um, but it's obviously you don't want to cause you want to minimize the amount of impact as possible and make it as temporary as possible as well too. So that's another factor. And then navigation, Jen, right? Like if it's a waterway that's used a lot by community members or used at all by community members for hunting and fishing,
Getting
um,
getting to and
you
from
need
on
to
the water.
yeah, you need to ensure that boats can still navigate through that culvert or under that bridge as they were able to before, right? Because the road's not
Hmm.
intended to stop people from being able to conduct their traditional activities. It's to improve their lives, not
Right, and you
impair
can't
their
you can't
lives, right?
portage a boat and motor.
You can't. It's if anyone's tried that before, it's yeah, it's the boats are
I
heavy.
don't. I
So
wouldn't.
are
Yeah, I
motors
wouldn't want to
too.
try it.
No, 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 I wouldn't want to try it either. So just to remind everyone, they can call or text us at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. Jen, you have a music request for us. Please
I
share.
do. Maybe Tony. I changed my mind,
I saw that.
as
I
I'm
saw that.
apt to do. So I think I'd like to start with Digging Roots, Spring to Come, because it's almost that time. Plus, we're lucky in Sudbury area. Digging Roots is coming to town pretty soon.
I'm looking forward to this one.
Okay,
You haven't heard them?
I have Spring to Come. I have a music video that's 3:34, and I have the regular song. I don't know what the difference is, but I'll just do my assumption, the regular song.
Okay.
All right.
It's one of my favorites. I think I'm going to say that with every song.
Spring coming right along. Oh, about a nice way to ask her for a song. So I asked the mountain if she might wanna move me. She said tell the rivers to wake up the lake. See, rivers take it from sky into home base, and yellow belly hawks know how to kill taste. Singing for the spring is like kissing pretty things, and changes like fire, changes like wings. Birch bark and maple and seas of black hair. Sing, raven, sing, show, Shona, fill the air.
Oh, that was good, Jen.
What do you think? You like that, Don?
That's really good. Yeah, I like that. Tell me a bit about them. Do you know much about them?
Digging roots. So Shoshona's from Batchewana First Nation, and Raven Kanataka, I think. Oh God, I don't remember what community he's from. So they're indigenous, an indigenous band, husband and wife band actually, and they've been doing their music for a really long time. They had an album that came out last year, Jawainum, and so this particular song, Spring to Come, is from their album Seeds in 2006 is when that one came out.
Wow,
so they're one
that
of
was
my
really
favorites.
good.
They played quite often in Wissahickon actually, because they had some buddies over there, and Wissahickon has a little storytellers festival, and they bring music and other storytellers there, because Wabgijik Rice is from Wissahickon, so they'd have this little festival, and they raise money for scholarships for people going into the arts in university and college.
That's great. Yeah, that
Fun
was
stuff,
really good
eh?
song. It's great bluesy song, eh? I love that style. That's really
Yeah,
good.
they're
I'll have to listen to more
folksy
of them.
blues.
Yeah, no, that was fantastic. I really enjoyed that. Well, let's keep moving along here and move over to talk a little bit about bridges. And it's pretty well the same type of bridge that's being proposed for the major water crossings. So, these bridges are, I think most people have seen these before. They're pretty standard looking highway type bridges. So they consist of a foundation on either side, and then the bridge abutment, which is that sort of concrete box that supports each end of the bridge deck, that sits on the foundation. So that will bear the load. And then you've got a bridge deck, which is like the floor of the bridge with sides on it. And then supporting that bridge deck, you have girders, right? The steel girders that run along each side of the deck, holding the deck up. And then, if it's not a single span, then you might have piers, which are those vertical pieces that help support the girders as well too. So that's the basic bridge design.
And
Sometimes,
they'll try not to go too high that it's a complete eyesore on the landscape, so they'll try and
yeah,
keep it close, but high enough so boat traffic can go underneath, right?
that's a good point, Jen. Yeah, and we're gonna talk a little bit about. We've got some visualizations that we went through in the live stream, which show sort of the before and after, and as you saw, the the big bridge crossing at Winnisk Lake, it's still pretty low profile, right? The bridge is still pretty low. That one had piers in it because of the span,
The
the
length,
distance
yeah.
across the water it had to cover, right? And and the idea is you obviously want to try to limit the number of piers used as much as possible. Um, because putting in the piers, there's a temporary impact on fish habitat just because you're disturbing an area, and you've got to be able
It'll
to
get
get
muddy.
those. Yeah, it gets muddy, and that's changes the conditions for the fish. So they, as much as possible, they try to span water courses, but again, there's limits, and especially when you're dealing with remote locations like this, it may be difficult to get a single span across a great length, just because you can't get
Yeah,
the materials up there, right?
and for waterworks, I think it's important to also note that they do their waterworks around certain times of year. So staying away from spawning
Yeah,
season, for instance, and doing the
that's
work in
right.
the water well after that time has taken place.
Exactly, right. So that's the kind of thing that would be in something we talked about earlier, the environmental management plan, where it specifies
Mhm.
windows, right, where you can't do in-water work, for example, right, because of impacts on fisheries in particular. So yeah, that's definitely something to consider. So there's a lot of um, protections in there for fish and fish habitat, so that work is done at times of year when there's least impact, right? Same with, it goes with migratory birds, right? Like, like limiting work or the types of work in certain areas, if they're areas that are used by migratory birds, right? Areas, staging areas and things like that. So that's a factor as well too. And well, I think it's time for another musical
Oh,
selection,
it,
Jen.
and it's your turn.
It's my turn. I'm excited. Again,
Okay,
just to
what do you
remind
got? What do you
everyone, they
got?
can call. Oh, I'm going to tell you. So you can call or text us at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. Again, call us with song requests, and but we will honor that request as long as you give us a question about the project. So this next selection is another Irish artist or artists. It's called the Pogues, is the name of the band. The lead singer passed away not long ago,
Yes, I
and this
suppose
song is probably their most famous song, called Fairy. It's about 15, 20 years old, I guess now. It's called Fairy Tale
Oh,
of New York by the Pogues. And
Yeah,
so, Tony, if you can bring that up.
we have it. Nicola's going to be happy that you're playing this one.
It's a
I
classic.
have
It's
not
a
heard of
classic.
this
Let's
one
listen to
before.
this. You should enjoy this. They play it a lot at Christmas time. So let's listen to Fairy Tale of New York, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation.
I was taking a ramble there one day about 3 years ago. It was the middle of the week, I think it was, and I was halfway between Puckon and Nina. I was looking for the Shannon. And I ended up in the mushroom field near Gortalacha. How are you? I stumbled into a fairy ring. Oh, just I couldn't get out. I was there for 3 days and 3 nights, wandering around in circles like a lunatic. I saw a fella come on the road, hey John, give us a hand to get out of this old fairy ring. But Jez, he took me by the arm and he led me out onto the road. Where are you going, says I don't know, says he. Jez, I'll go there too. So he took me to Paddy Kennedy's pub in Puckon, into the snug. Yeah, and he called for a drink. And then I called for a drink, and then he called for another drink, and I called for 2 drinks, and then we sat down and we had a drink. The old tongue started to loosen up and the old thoughts began to flow. But Jesse, he told me a few of his poems and they were marvellous after a few drinks. Then I sang a song and he put on the jukebox. And Jez, I heard this beautiful song I'd never heard it before. It was all about a summer day in Siam and a rainy day in Soho and a pair of brown eyes and a coffin ship sailing across the broad Atlantic foam. The sick bed of Cuchulainn, ah yeah. And then he went, it was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank. And old man said, son, I won't see another one. And then he sang a song, the rare old mountain dew. I turned my eyes away and I thought about you. Got on the lucky one, came in at 18 to 1. I've got a feeling this year's for me and you. You, baby, there's gonna be good times when all our dreams come true. They got cars big as bars, they got rivers of gold, but the wind blows right through you, it's no place for the old. When I first took your hand on a cold Christmas Eve, oh, I told you that Broadway was waiting for me. You were handsome and pretty, queen of New York City. When the band finished playing, the crowd howled for more. Sinatra was swinging, and all the crowd they were singing. Oh, we kissed in the corner and danced round the floor. And the boys from the New York Police Choir were singing Galway Bay. And the bells were ringing out on Christmas Day. I could have been someone, and so could anyone. I took my dreams from you when I first met you. I kept them with me, babe, and I put them with my own. I can't make it all alone. I've built my dreams all around you. And you're a bum, you're a punk, you're an old whore and junk, lying there under the rip, nearly dead in the bed. You scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy faggot. Happy Christmas, me arse, oh, I'd rather be dead. And the boys from the NYPD choir were singing Galway Bay. And the bells were ringing out on Christmas Day. Oh, I love you, baby. I've got a feeling this year's for me and you. there's gonna be good times when all our dreams come true. So happy Christmas. I love you, baby. It's a shame I'm gone from Puckon and the County Tipperary in the snow when I took a bit of hand.
Okay, we are back. That was the live version, acoustic. Yeah, it was different. Never heard that before. But anyway, it's very different from the original version. But
Or the
that
one you
was
had in
Shane
mind.
McGowan. Yeah, very different. So let's move along and talk a bit about culverts. Um, So when we talk about culverts, we're talking about situations where you're crossing smaller water courses, right? Not a big wide stretch, maybe up to I don't know what the threshold span is, but smaller kind of water crossings. But there are many different types of culverts, and for different situations. And so you've got like what they call the open bottom steel arch culvert, which is like if you imagine a big giant pipe cut in half, and the cut sides are sitting on walls over the water course. So this is situations where you'd use this in situations where you have very sensitive fish habitat or fairly sensitive fish habitat. You don't want to disturb that in any way. So you build the walls for the sides of the culvert to sit on and bear that weight, and then you don't disturb the actual bottom. You maintain the bottom
Yeah.
of that, as opposed to
And places
inserting
that
a
are,
pipe, right?
and I think places that aren't too deep.
Yes, situations like that. So you'll see these quite commonly. Um, they're getting more. I think they're used more and more often because of the fact that they can protect fish and fish habitat. So that's one option. The other types of culverts that you see are actual just steel pipes, simple ones. You'll see these on the smaller ones or medium-sized ones where they basically just drop a pipe down and then push the road over top of the pipe. And so there's those, and then you have steel arch culverts um, that don't sit on sort of the side concrete walls as well too. So there's a lot of different variations of them used in different situations. Um, Quite often, when you see these, you'll see like stone, riprap stone, which is sort of medium-sized stone, small to medium-sized stone, and that's around the openings to protect the openings from eroding. Because if they erode, then the pipe starts to shift, and remember the pipe is on an angle, so water will flow down
Hmm.
through it, right? So once an angle gets messed up, or if the pipe gets full of sediment, it's not doing its job anymore, and then it can cause
And
more problems
instability in the road, of
and
course.
instability in the road too. Exactly, right? You're because that culvert is part of the road, right? The road sits on top of it.
So
It
we have
causes
someone on
instability.
the
So
line that we're just bringing in, so we'll just be aware we'll be interrupting to bring you the question. So
Okay.
okay,
McKenna, our operator, is just bringing the phone call in.
okay, great, fantastic.
I'll let you know.
Thank you. So there's lots of different culvert types. And different situations to use them in, and the decisions as to which ones are used are typically made by the engineers because they know what they need. They've done the calculations of how much flow um, is coming into that point and what size opening to use. So all that work is done in advance, and those details are laid out as part of the preliminary designs as well. So Jen, I think it's time for another musical selection.
Oh,
Um,
is it my turn now?
yes, it is, and I'll just remind everyone that they can call or text us with their question or comment at 1-844-424-0500. That's 1-844-424-0500. Jen, you can
We're doing music.
make your next
Yeah, I
selection, and then
feel
we'll come back and we'll deal with the question that we're going to get.
I feel like some Nina Simone would make my Monday much better. So Don't Let Me Be Misunderstood for this Monday, because I say a lot of crazy things on Mondays.
You say crazy
All
things every
right.
day, Jen. Don't
I know, but
discriminate against
Mondays
the
is
other
especially
days.
hard. Don't
Yeah,
discriminate against
yeah.
Monday.
They all seem the same to
Nina.
me in terms of the crazy things. Okay, let's listen to Nina Simone.
Baby, you understand me now. If sometimes you see that I'm mad, don't you know no one alive can always be an angel? When everything goes wrong, you see some bad. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. You know, sometimes, baby, I'm so carefree, with a joy that's hard to hide. And then sometimes again it seems that all I have is worry. And then you're bound to see my other side. But I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. If I seem edgy, I want you to know I never mean to take it out on you. Life has its problems, and I get more than my share. But that's one thing I never mean to do, 'cause I love you. Oh, baby, I'm just human. Don't you know I have faults like anyone? Sometimes I find myself alone regretting some little foolish thing, some simple thing that I've done. 'Cause I'm just a soul whose intentions are good. Oh Lord, please don't let me be misunderstood. Don't let me be misunderstood. I try so hard, so please don't let me be misunderstood.
Okay, we are back. That was great, Jen. Great selection.
Thank you. Yeah, this one was a bit short, and like Sinead O'Connor earlier with that we played and we talked about her activism, and Nina Simone was also an activist in addition to an artist. And in 1964, she had her big song that turned into a protest song, and that one was Mississippi Goddamn.
And so
Wow.
we had John Edwards from Iowapscut calling in. Thank you, John. And he only had a comment, and maybe I don't know if this is concerning us. Maybe you could just comment on it. But he was voicing concern about the amount of drilling that has been happening around the Ring of Fire region. And so I don't know if you have a solid answer for that. But John Edwards, thanks for the comment.
Yeah, I don't know over what time frame. I can't really comment on that because I'm not familiar. I know we're not conducting any drilling programs or haven't been for a while. Not probably since the fall. So it's difficult to comment on that, Tony, at this point right now. I could certainly ask around and see what's happening and if where who might be doing that drilling that John's referring to.
Mm-hmm.
So as we move along here, let me just I thought maybe we would cover one last little topic before we finish off with one more song, which I've got in mind. And so I want to talk a bit about muskeg and building in muskeg. And so muskeg presents some challenges, obviously. In the Webequie Supply Road region, there's 60 kilometers of planned road going through muskeg. The peat is 1 to 5 meters thick through these areas, so it presents a lot of challenges. So in these areas, the key thing is to ensure the flow of water through use of a large rock, allowing spaces between the rocks, sort of as the road base, and then in the open water sections of muskeg to use multiple culverts to ensure that water is flowing. So there are lots of good examples out there of this having been done successfully, and and it's been monitored over periods of time. So that's another consideration is water crossings, and muskeg is water with thick
Mm-hmm.
mat of vegetation on top of it. So I'm going to try and squeeze in one more song here, Jen, if we can.
Oh, I think we have
And
time.
I think we have time, and that so the call-in number is 1-844-424-0500. And my last song of the day that I propose is called Zombie by the Cranberries, and then we're going to come back and wrap things up. So if
Nice.
we can bring that up, that would be great.
We're good. We're good.
Okay, we are back. That was the Cranberries with Zombie, another classic. That was a fantastic. It's one of those just timeless songs, right?
Yeah, another one of my favorite ones, and I like to play Car Idle with this one.
Play Car Idle. What do you mean? Sorry.
Yes. So that means I play the song in my car while I'm driving alone,
Oh,
mind you, and I
oh,
can
got
belt
it.
it out
Oh,
really, really loud with good,
yeah,
decent
that's
acoustics in my vehicle by myself, so I'm not harming anybody.
that's a great. Yeah, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, certain songs are for are just sound that much better in certain situations, right? And
When nobody's
that's a great
listening.
situation. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Wow. Well, that was a good session today, Jen. We covered some great music. I love the Nina Simone and what was the name of the band before? I got to write this down.
Digging roots. Digging roots.
Digging Roots. That was fantastic. Wow. So I got to keep track of all this stuff so we can play it again. So yeah, you never know what we're going to get from week to week, music wise, and that's kind of the fun, isn't it, Jen?
That's right. And besides that, I changed my mind last second.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah.
good
You're always
thing.
changing your
It's a good
mind,
thing
so that
Tony,
makes it
yeah,
interesting.
Tony was ready.
Keep him on his toes. Yes.
Yeah.
So that wraps up today's discussion of water crossings along the Webequie Supply Road. We hope it was helpful, and we hope it makes you want to come back and join us again next week at the same time when we talk about how to use Indigenous knowledge in our environmental and impact assessment. That should be a really good topic, should be fun. We will be on the road at the PDAC conference somewhere, broadcasting from somewhere in that area. So that'll make it
Somewhere in
even more
Toronto.
interesting. Somewhere in Toronto, yeah. Whoever will allow us to broadcast.
That's right. And
Don't
hopefully it's
forget.
not too noisy wherever we are.
That's right. That's right. So don't forget to keep in touch with our project team members via the contact information available on our website, supplyroad.ca. And there's lots of information there. Um, we want you to access as much as you can of it to be aware of the project. Miigwech, and we will talk to you again next week.
Oh, miigwech, bamapi.